Hello everyone. I've been wanting to do this video for a while, and that is to show you how to retrieve whatever version that you saved using the Git distributed version control tool, the interface that interfaces with the repository hosting service that we use, and that's Bitbucket. You could use GitHub, and um, either one of those two are fine. But we use in the classes that I teach, we're using Bitbucket, um, and we're using the Git command line tool. And I want to show you how to retrieve um, various files that have been saved and how to do so in an efficient manner. You'll see that on the left-hand side I have some commands that I'll go over, and on the right-hand side I have Git bash command prompt. And let's begin. So you'll see here that I have some commands. I'll make it a little bit larger for you to see. Then I'll make it a little bit smaller so they all fit on one screen there. The first thing you want to do is make sure that you're inside of the repository uh, for which you're trying to get versions of your files. Now, that's not a mandatory thing. You could actually make a call from another excuse me, you can actually make a call from another directory and then go into that path. I'll show here in a second, but it's easiest if you just change directory to the repository in which you want to work. Um, you'll see here that you can see that it's not. I'm in my home directory app and then app data roaming. I'll do pwd present working directory, and it's showing that it's going from the C drive to users to my username to app data to roaming. And again, PWD just stands for present working directory. And what we need to do for this demonstration is we need to CD to a repository that I'm currently teaching. That is a course for which a course that I'm currently teaching, and that is DIS course. And that is stands for Directed Independent Study course. Um, this one has a combination of undergrad and grad students, and that's why I named it LIS 4905 underscore 5900, because that's the numbers for our undergrad DIS course, and our grad DIS course is 5900. Um, and it's fall 2019 here. By the way, the day before Thanksgiving, and that's why I had some extra time, and I wanted to do this for uh, for my students as a demonstration. And so we're going to CD right here uh, at this point, and then what we're going to do, we're going to invoke this command git log. Now, git log, what that does for us, it'll list all the changes for a particular file. And now we're just going to make it real simple. We're going to do the README file here um, that's in the root of the directory LIS 4905 underscore 5900 underscore fall 19. And we're going to invoke this command right now. Okay, so here it is. By the way, I'm just in case you're wondering, I'm doing shift insert using the insert key, shift insert, and that'll insert whatever I copied into the buffer. And I hit enter here, and you'll see that I get a number of different displays. And what is happening here is it will give me a hash value of that particular commit, making it unique. And for those of you in my database courses, this would be essentially a primary key because it makes each entry, each commit unique. The author, when the commit was um, pushed, um, and actually when it was the this particular ad was committed, and then the comments for this particular commit. So these are the comments that you'll see here when a user puts the commit and then uh, hyphen M and then a comment associated with that. Um, so you'll see at the very bottom here, there's a colon, meaning that if I hit the space bar, it'll continue to give me um, various versions until you see the end here. Various versions of this file, all the way beginning from September 1st at 9:53, 54 seconds, 2019. Uh, it is in 24-hour display. And the latest is always displayed first. So it's essentially in descending order, if you will. You're familiar with the database courses. It's in descending order, which makes sense. You want to see the latest first, right? And the latest was November 27th at 9 in the morning, 9:52 and 18 seconds in the morning, 2019. So I have all these various versions here, okay, for which I can get any one of these that I want. But it's important to note that what you want to do is use this uh, SHA hash value to retrieve them. Okay, notice this value is different than this value, which is different than this value, etc., etc. Now, the dirty little secret is because we don't have millions and millions of commits, and we're not, this is not being used the same um, uh, path, if you will, to the remote Bitbucket host repository service, the hosting provider. Um, we don't need this entire hash value, as I'll show you in a second. All we really need is just the first four characters, which will make it unique. So let's go back over here. Let me make this a little bit, well, actually, let me do this. Make it a little bit larger for you. And then let me separate some of this so you could see these. So the first one is seeding to the actual repository here locally. The next is doing a git log command. The next that we're going to be doing here is showing a list of, we're going to display you saw the hash values there, and that indicates a list of changes. And then what we're going to do then is just use the entire hash value, and then also just used a portion of the hash value to see that you retrieve the same file. So we cd'd, we changed the directory, we did the log command, that there's a list of changes it displays with hash values. You can copy the commit hash value, which I have here. I have one right here. But you can copy any of these hash values and do the same thing. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to git show the actual contents of the file. Now git show and then the hash value. Notice the colon there and then the name of the file. Now, to be clear, that period / is indicating the current directory. And that's what you want to do, particularly if you're on a Unix Linux system. You don't really have to do that on Windows. I could actually have done this, just the name of the file, because I am in that current directory right now. So um, one thing I want to say about this, at the end of it, you'll see that it says end, END. Now to get out of this and get back to my command prompt, I just type the letter Q. Just Q and it quits. And now I could type additional commands here. Now, but any one of these I could pass as, any one of these hash values I could pass and get that version of the README file. But we're going to do it technically the correct way, and period / like I said, on the Windows machine, it would work perfectly well just like that as well too. But it's best if you're working in a Unix Linux environment to do the correct, invoke the correct command, and also using the correct relative path values as well too. So period / means we're looking for the README file in this current directory. What is this current directory? Well, if we do pwd, present working directory, this is our current working directory, lis 4905 underscore 5900 underscore fall 19. That's the current directory. So I'm going to, and then I could do, if I wanted to, I could do ls hyphen al and see that there's that README file right there, right? So this is the README file, and we want to see a particular version of that. Notice the Git subfolder, and I mentioned many times in class, if you're in my development um, courses, any one of them that I teach, we use a distributed version control system. So the git.git subfolder uh, really stores the history of all your commands and all your commits. So it's important that you keep that. Um, so we're going to do a git show with a particular hash value. And I'm going to shift insert this. And you'll see what will happen is it will actually display the entire contents of this file, starting from the very beginning of the file. And then I could scroll down. Notice I have the colon there that indicates I can hit my space bar and continue processing the page, right? Seeing the display, the contents of the file with this particular version. This is not the latest version, by the way. I'm just going back to see, oh shoot, I messed up my current version. I need to go back and get a clean version, or see what was done by one of my team members in a prior version. See what they did. Maybe grab some code that I used in the past and I'm no longer using. So this is just getting a different version. I want to quit out of this, so I hit the Q key again, hit Q, and I'm out of this, back ready to make another command. And I could also do it this way, as I mentioned to you. Because I don't have, I'm not working in a large team environment with millions of commits. I don't need this entire hash value. I could get the same file by just using, by the way, the minimum to do this is with the minimum, very bare bones minimum, you need at least 4 alphanumeric values. And so I've got 5, lowercase f, 1, and e. So that's the bare bones minimum. Otherwise, the command will not work. So I got 4 characters here. I'm going to show it. Again, I don't necessarily recommend this if you're working in a big team environment, because you never know. There may be a couple versions. If you have many commits, there may be a couple that have the same first 4 alpha numeric key values. So you probably don't want to do this in an environment where there's many developers with doing many commits. But this will work in our environment. And so here I'm going to right click at this time, paste it, and you'll see that I'm getting the same file, the exact same file. And I could space through it like that, and I'm just going to quit right here. Q, just hit Q. And I could do that. Now, that's all fine and dandy, but another way to work with this is to actually redirect the content of that particular version to another file. Now, look at this code that I have here for you right there. I'm redirecting it to a file called readme_test.md. Now, I'm only doing this for testing purposes. I don't recommend this. I recommend that you would put here in, if you're going to call this readme test, I recommend that you, indicate something like, what is today's date that you're doing, or if you wanted to, you could even have the date of the actual version that you're redirecting to. So either way, I wouldn't just name it like this unless you want to do just a quick test. But nevertheless, and that's all I'm doing here is just a quick test. So git show, name of the hash value, colon, and the file that we want this particular version, and we want it redirected to this file. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to copy this, put it into my buffer. Before I invoke this command, I want to show you the folder the folder's right there. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to hit Shift Insert before I hit the enter key, notice I have readme.md, but as soon as I hit the enter key in my git bash command prompt, you'll see that it creates a readme underscore test.md file. And oh, my bad. Oh my gosh, I'm in the wrong directory. Sorry about that. Let me go back here to my DIS. And there it is. So there's the file right here. Just to show you I had no sleight of hand, I'll do this again. I just deleted it. I'm going to do this again. Git show hash value colon name of the file. It's readme right here. This is the file, and we want a specific version of it. And then we want to redirect the content of it. We want to redirect what's going to display to the command prompt. We want to redirect it to an actual file. So hit the enter key, and you can see there is the file right there. Okay, that's a much more useful utilitarian way approach of using these versions like that by just redirecting the content to a file. Then you can open up the file um, like this and take a look at it and see what is in that content. And if you wanted to use it or modify it, that would be a better way of doing it. Again, you want a quick look through, just print it out like this, like I'm doing here, just like this. But if you want to actually do something with it, there's the file. There's an older version of a file. There's an older version of this file. That's all it is. It's an older version of that file. I'm going to delete that right now and go back to here. So that's something we could do to check. Maybe we did something incorrectly, or we want to look at some other code, or another person's code, and see what they did. And it's a nice way of being able to retrieve older versions. Now, there's some other things you can do as well too. So, for instance, here is a method to view a version of a file called readme.md, the same one that we're going to use, from 4 commits ago. So let's take a look at this code here. It would be done like this. So git show head tilde, that's a tilde, and that key is actually right next to the number 1. You hit the shift key and then the tilde right next to number 1 on your keyboard, colon readme. Now what that'll do is retrieve a version from 4 commits ago. Okay, I'm going to paste that in there, and you'll see that this is a version from another version from 4 commits ago. All right. And just as a comment here, head is actually a reference to the last commit in the current checkout branch, but the tilde 4 will give us that last commit 4 commits ago. Another thing we could do is display the name of the file based upon that hash value. So what I want to do, I want to see the name of the file for that hash value, and I'm going to do git show hash value space hyphen name underscore name hyphen only, and then let me quit out of here and let me do shift insert. And you could see that it's going to give us a little bit more than just the name. And this may be very beneficial for you. So here's the commit. It's indicating that, this is the hash value for that particular commit which we used, who the author was, the date, the comments of that commit. So fixed week 11 readme link. And then finally, the actual name of the file. Now, if you don't want all that information, I'll give you another command. You could just see the date of that. All right. So, and you could do some things like this. For instance, if you want to see the modified date, you can do this command. Now, a couple things. You could use the pretty format, and then with the option of AD, which stands for author's date. The -1, by the way, just means that it restricts it to the last time that the file was changed. So I'm going to copy this and shift insert it, and you can see that what it will return is again a little bit more than just the um, just the date there. It's giving us the commit. Oops, excuse me. It's giving us the commit, um, where it is, head master and origin master. Um, as far as the branch, it's giving us the author and the date and the comments. Now we could pare that down. So we could do something like this as well. So this is giving us um, the generic syntax here. My apologies. This was a generic syntax with just a path, right? And I just have that generically as the path. It, that's how you would run it if you wanted to. You weren't in that particular directory. This, um, you guys, is the actual file. So when I run this here like this, you'll see what oops, I didn't copy this in my buffer. Let me do that right now. And shift insert. Okay, now you'll see the actual file there. And so um, what this captured, by the way, gang, here is that um, because even though we didn't have the actual file name, it recalled it from the previous command that I did, and that's why I was able to spit this out right here. Okay, um, but now we're actually made the correct command. That is get log -1. That's a one, by the way, not a lowercase l. That's a one. Um, and then on this particular file, it's saying exactly where we are in branch, the author, the date, and the comments. Now, like I said, we could pare that information down, and we could do it like this with this command right here. So get log -1, very similar, but we're not using a pretty format. And CI, by the way, stands for committer date. Now, there's a difference, by the way. There's a difference between AD, author date, and CI, which is committer date. Now, in this situation, you won't see a difference because I am the author and I am the committer. But there may be a different author than the committer. So let's see what this looks like. Shift insert, and you'll see that it only returns the date. Well, timestamp, if you will, not just a date, because I want the time as well too. So no additional information like the commit hash value, the author, the date. You may just want the date, and if you just want the date, you can use this. If you want further information, you could use this command. All right, and if you want more information on how to do the formatting for the return, use this URL, and that will return that. Here's a couple references for you, gang, right there from Stack Overflow and also from the actual manual itself. The Git manual was very beneficial in doing some research for this particular video. Gang, I hope that was helpful for you. Now you know how to return the version of whatever files you want to get. You could even return an entire directory or subdirectory doing the same thing. You can get a prior version if you messed up, a subdirectory, lost it, deleted, your computer crashed, someone stole your computer. You can retrieve whatever version you want using these commands. Gang, I hope that was helpful for you, and I hope you have a great evening, and see you all in class.